There comes a moment in every life when the world feels impossibly heavy. When you look at your future and see nothing but fog. When even getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain. Maybe you've been trying for years. Maybe you've failed so many times that failure feels like the only language you speak. Maybe you've watched other people rise while you stay stuck, unseen, unheard, unchosen. Maybe a part of you whispers, "What's the point anymore?" And in that whisper, hope dies a little. But listen carefully, that is not the end. That's the beginning. Because the Stoics taught something profoundly uncomfortable and profoundly empowering. Your suffering is not a dead end. It's raw material. It's clay. It's fuel. It's your chance to rebuild a mind so strong that nothing external can break it again. When you feel hopeless, you're standing at a crossroads. One path is the one you already know, the one where you shrink, surrender, break. The other path is quieter, but stronger. It's the path of discipline, perception, resilience, and self-command. It's the path of Stoicism. Every morning you wake up with a choice. To let the world dictate your emotions, or to fight for your inner fortress. To believe the voice that says you're done, or to build a new voice that says you're just beginning. This message is for the version of you that is tired, but not finished. Defeated, but not destroyed. Hurting, but still capable of rising. If you've lost all hope, then good. Because now, finally, we can start from truth. Let's rebuild you from the inside out. 10 Stoic Lessons. 10 unbreakable foundations. Listen closely. Your new life starts here. Hope is a fragile thing. It can disappear quietly, slowly, without anyone noticing. Sometimes even without you noticing. One disappointment, one rejection, one unexpected loss at a time, and suddenly the light inside you dims. The world keeps moving, but you feel stuck in place, watching life happen from a distance. It's a lonely feeling, a heavy feeling, a feeling most people carry in secret. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius led an empire while carrying the weight of wars, plagues, betrayal, and death all around him. Seneca guided leaders while wrestling with his own inner storms. Epictetus was born a slave, stripped of freedom, comfort, and control. Yet he taught millions, across centuries, how to rise above suffering. They knew something we forget today. Life will break you if you let it, but it will rebuild you if you choose to learn. Feeling hopeless doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are standing in front of a lesson. Pain is not the enemy. Surrender is. Fear is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Chaos is not the enemy. A chaotic mind is. The Stoics believed that when life collapses, the first task is not to fix the outside world, it's to rebuild the inner world. Your mindset, your perception, your discipline, your ability to pause before reacting, your ability to act without guaranteeing a result. These 10 lessons are not motivational quotes. They are mental tools, forged by centuries of hardship, battle-tested by philosophers who lived through darker times than most of us can imagine. If you feel lost, if you feel like you're running out of strength, these principles will give you something stronger than motivation. Clarity, stability, and control. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Control the internal. Release the external. When you lose hope, the first instinct is to grab at everything around you. You try to control outcomes, people, timing, circumstances, anything that might give you a sense of stability. But the more you tighten your grip, the more life slips through your fingers. That's the cruelty of misplaced control. It makes you feel responsible for things that were never yours to command. The Stoics begin with the simplest, harshest truth. There are only 2 categories in life: what you can control and what you can't. Suffering multiplies when you confuse the two. You can't control who supports you. You can't control who leaves. You can't control the economy, the timing of opportunities, or how long a storm lasts. You can't control how someone treats you, what they think, or whether they see your worth. But there are things, powerful things, you always control. Your choices, your thoughts, your attitude, your effort, your perspective, your response, your discipline, your courage. When you lose hope, the mind zooms in on everything outside your influence. I can't fix this. I can't make this happen. I can't change them. I can't predict what comes next. And all of this may be true, but it is also irrelevant. Because Stoicism teaches that peace does not come from changing the world. It comes from reclaiming the space inside your own mind. Your inner world is the only kingdom where you are absolutely sovereign. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Not for an audience, not for history, but for himself, a reminder we all need. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Not sometimes. Not when life is gentle. Always. In moments of hopelessness, read those words again. Slowly. Because hope dies when your power is misplaced. Hope returns when your power is recentered. You may not know how the story ends. You may not know when things will get better. You may not know why this is happening. But you do know this. You can take one small action today. You can change one thought. You can reframe one fear. You can commit to one discipline. And that is enough to start momentum. Control is like a door. When you push on the wrong door, you feel stuck. When you push on the right one, it opens easily. Not because the world changes, but because your focus aligns with reality. So ask yourself every morning, what is within my control today? What is outside it? Write it down if you must. Seeing it with your eyes brings clarity your mind alone cannot create. And once you separate these two worlds, let the external world go. Not because you don't care, but because caring doesn't mean controlling. Freeing yourself from what doesn't belong to you is not giving up, it's anchoring yourself. This is where hope lives. Not in the world you want, but in the mind you command. Lesson 2. Pause before the spiral. The Stoic practice of interrupting destructive thought loops. When life collapses around you, the real battle doesn't start in the world, it starts in your mind. Not with what happened, but with the story you attach to what happened. Loss becomes, "I'll never recover." A setback becomes, "My life is ruined." A rejection becomes, "I am unworthy." The event is real, yes. But the spiral, the storm of thoughts that follows, is your mind adding layers of suffering the moment you stop paying attention. The Stoics had a word for this: phantasiae, impressions. Raw, unfiltered reactions. Your brain's first draft. And here's the truth most people never learn. Your first thought is not the problem. Your second, third, and 10th thoughts, the ones you don't question, are what destroy your hope. You can't stop the first spark, but you can stop the explosion. This is why Stoicism teaches one of the most powerful emotional skills you will ever learn. The pause. Not the pause of silence. The pause of awareness. That moment, the one between stimulus and reaction, is where your entire life can change. When something painful happens, your brain rushes to create a story. I'm failing. This always happens to me. I'm done. If you don't intervene, those thoughts will multiply like fire in a dry forest. Suddenly, you aren't dealing with a situation anymore. You're dealing with a distorted narrative your mind built in panic. The pause interrupts that narrative. It doesn't make the pain disappear. It prevents the pain from becoming a flood. Think of it like this. You cannot stop a storm, but you can stop yourself from running into it blindly. The Stoics often wrote reminders to themselves like, "Wait, observe, hold your judgment. Is this true?" They didn't write these because they were wise. They wrote them because they were human, and humans panic. But panic is the opposite of perception. And hopelessness is just panic stretched over time. So what does the pause look like in real life? It's taking one deep breath when your mind is screaming negatives. It's counting to 5 before you assume the worst. It's asking, what actually happened, and what story am I adding? It's recognizing that feelings are not facts. It's refusing to amplify the first fear with 10 imagined ones. Hopelessness thrives on speed. It needs you to react quickly, emotionally, blindly. It needs you to trust the first thought that appears. When you pause, you slow down its momentum. You interrupt the chain reaction. The pause is not weakness, it is authority. It is you stepping onto the throne of your own mind. If you practice this even once a day, you will notice something small but powerful. Your thoughts lose their power to drag you. They start becoming tiny waves instead of tsunamis. And once your mind stops drowning you, hope has a chance to breathe again. Because hope doesn't require life to be perfect. It only requires the space to think clearly. The pause gives you that space. Lesson 3. Embrace the obstacle as teacher. When everything falls apart, the first thought is always the same. Why me? Why now? This is unfair. It is human to recoil. But Stoics saw a deeper truth. The universe doesn't conspire against you. Life is neutral. Events are neither good nor bad. Your judgment makes them so. And in that judgment lies the key to hope. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle contains a lesson, a hidden path, a spark of growth. The problem is, most people run from obstacles. They complain, despair, or ignore them, hoping the difficulty will disappear. But difficulty never disappears. It waits. It grows. And in running, you shrink. To lose hope is to see obstacles as walls. Stoicism teaches us to see obstacles as doors. A loss, a failure, a betrayal, each one carries its own wisdom. The loss teaches resilience. The failure teaches strategy. The betrayal teaches discernment. The obstacle does not exist to punish you. It exists to teach you mastery over yourself. The first step is perception. Stop labeling obstacles as enemies. Ask yourself instead, what is this teaching me? How can I use this? What virtue can I practice in response? The second step is action. Obstacles demand engagement, not avoidance. You cannot think your way past them. You must act, consistently, deliberately, and patiently. Small steps, repeated, compound over time. Courage, discipline, patience. These are the tools that turn hardship into hope. The third step is acceptance. Life is not fair, nor is it supposed to be. Hopelessness is born from resentment, from expecting life to follow your script. Stoicism teaches you to accept what happens while never accepting that you are powerless. You act within your sphere. You release the rest. Obstacles are mirrors. They reflect what you lack: patience, courage, wisdom, or endurance. And they reflect what you already possess: strength, insight, persistence, and the ability to learn. Every time you face an obstacle and choose the Stoic path, hope grows stronger, because you have proof that you can survive, adapt, and rise. So next time despair creeps in, do not shrink. Do not plead for easier circumstances. Look at the obstacle squarely. Ask what it demands of you, and walk through it deliberately, step by step. Because the obstacle is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the bridge from hopelessness to inner power. Embrace it, learn, and grow. Lesson 4. Build hope through small victories. When despair takes hold, it magnifies every problem. Mountains grow taller. Nights grow darker. Every challenge becomes insurmountable. When hope fades, it's rarely because life has grown harder. It's because the mind has stopped noticing progress. It overlooks the small wins. It focuses only on the overwhelming totality of failure. The Stoics understood that hope is not a sudden lightning strike. It is cultivated. It grows in tiny increments. Like a plant, it requires attention, care, and patience. Epictetus taught, "Don't aim to be perfect. Aim to improve." When life breaks you, perfection is impossible. Improvement, however, is always within reach. Every small choice to act well, to persevere, to endure, these are the seeds of hope. Start with the smallest victories. Make your bed. Finish a task. Keep a promise to yourself. Speak with kindness. Resist a temptation. Each small act may seem trivial, but Stoicism tells us these accumulate into inner strength, like drops forming a river. They remind the mind, you are capable. You are still standing. You still have agency. Hope is not a single grand event. It is a ledger of victories. Every day you act deliberately, you are winning, even if the world seems to collapse around you. And the more victories you tally, the more your mind trusts itself again. Doubt recedes. Fear diminishes. Despair loses its grip. There is a key principle here. Measure only what is in your control. Victory is not defined by external outcomes, praise, or reward. Victory is defined by action and intention. Did you act courageously? Did you act with wisdom? Did you act without surrendering to panic? Then you have WON.IN hopeless moments. Your vision is distorted. You see only failure and loss. The Stoic cure is deliberate reflection. Write down one thing you achieved today. One small, concrete thing. Tomorrow, add another. And the day after, another. Each note is proof that you are moving forward. Each note is proof that you are not defeated. This is how hope is rebuilt. Not through grand epiphanies. Not through perfect conditions. But through relentless, disciplined, incremental improvement. Life may remain chaotic, uncertain, unfair. But within yourself, you create order. Within yourself, you create progress. Within yourself, you create hope. Remember, the smallest victories are the foundation of resilience. The smallest victories are the proof that even when the world is against you, you are not. The smallest victories are the beginning of a life where despair cannot hold you. Start small. Win small. Keep going. And hope, once buried, will grow again. Lesson 5. Stop seeking approval. Start seeking truth. Hopelessness often begins quietly, a need for validation. You look at the world and think, if only they saw me, approved me, believed in me, then I could have hope. You measure your worth by external opinions, by likes, nods, promotions, applause. And when the world does not deliver, the mind collapses. You feel small, invisible, broken. The Stoics saw this trap clearly. Dependence on external approval is a prison. If your peace, your hope, your courage, your sense of self rests on the judgments of others, then you are always at the mercy of forces beyond your control. And when those forces fail you, as they inevitably will, despair grows. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Notice the subtlety. He didn't say to seek applause for reacting well. He said to act rightly, regardless of approval. The internal compass, not the external crowd, is what determines your life. Hope grows when you shift focus inward. Stop asking, do they approve of me? Start asking, am I living according to my values? Stop measuring your worth by what the world gives you. Start measuring it by how you respond to what life gives you. This is not arrogance. It is clarity. It is freedom. Once you no longer tether your self-esteem to the whims of others, your mind finds space to breathe. Pain still exists. Obstacles still exist. Rejection still exists. But they no longer define you. They no longer break you. You become the observer, the craftsman, the steady hand at the helm of your own mind. Every morning, remind yourself, what I do matters more than what they think. I will act rightly, regardless of reward or recognition. Why control lies in truth, not approval. By rooting hope in your own judgment and values, it becomes unshakable. Approval comes and goes. Popularity fades. Praise is fleeting. But inner integrity, the courage to act rightly, to hold your mind steady, to resist despair, is permanent. Hope thrives there, because it doesn't depend on anyone else's story. It depends on yours. Despair lives in the noise outside. Hope lives in the quiet truth within. If you want to reclaim hope, the path is simple. Stop chasing external validation. Start seeking truth. Build your actions, your thoughts, your reactions on that foundation. The world may ignore you. People may misunderstand you. Circumstances may betray you. But no one can touch the fortress of your mind. And in that fortress, hope is eternal. Lesson 6. Learn to let go of the unfinished. Hopelessness often grows in the shadow of unfinished business. Projects left incomplete. Words left unsaid. Mistakes left uncorrected. Goals abandoned halfway. Your mind replays them again and again, like a broken record. Each repetition weighs heavier than the last. The unfinished past becomes a prison. The Stoics taught a profound principle. Focus on what you can finish. Release what you cannot. Marcus Aurelius reflected often on impermanence. He reminded himself that life is fleeting, that circumstances change, and that clinging to what is incomplete, or what cannot be completed, is a form of self-torture. Stoicism does not glorify guilt or regret. It glorifies action within the limits of reality. Consider this. You cannot rewrite every conversation you botched. You cannot undo every failure. You cannot control how others perceive you, or when events outside your control unfold. Clinging to the unfinished only prolongs despair. Instead, turn your attention to what you can finish. What can you complete today, in this moment? A thought, a task, a gesture, a promise. Each small completion is a step toward clarity. Each completed action is a proof that you are capable, present, and alive. The mind sees results, not abstract failures, and hope begins to seep back in. There is freedom in letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means discerning what is within your power and what lies beyond it. The unfinished projects, the missed opportunities, the mistakes you cannot fix, they are not chains. They are teachers, if you choose to see them that way. The Stoics practiced reflection nightly. They wrote in journals, asking, "What did I do well today? What did I let go of, and why? What am I choosing to complete tomorrow?" This ritual trains the mind to finish what matters and release what cannot be forced. It trains hope, because hope is built on accomplishment, not regret. It is forged by moving forward, not by clinging to the past. So, when hopelessness creeps in, look at your unfinished burdens. Sort them. Finish what you can. Release the rest. Stop replaying the stories you cannot change. Stop exhausting yourself with what is no longer yours to fix. Hope is not found in controlling the uncontrollable. Hope is found in finishing your work, in taking responsibility where it matters, in freeing the mind from unnecessary chains. Do this, and you will discover, letting go is not losing. It is reclaiming your energy. It is reclaiming your mind. It is reclaiming hope. Lesson 7. Practice gratitude in the midst of suffering. When hope seems lost, the mind instinctively focuses on what is missing. Opportunities lost. Dreams delayed. Comfort gone. People absent. Circumstances unfair. The mind scrolls endlessly through the ledger of lack, and despair grows with every thought. The Stoics, however, knew a counterintuitive truth. Hope is revived not by denial of hardship, but by acknowledgement of what remains. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about recognizing that even amidst suffering, there is something still intact, something still yours, something still worth noticing. Seneca wrote, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Think about that. Not the past, not the external world, not the unreachable ideal. Just this, the air you breathe, the life that still flows through you, the mind that can still learn, the body that can still act, the loved ones who remain, the lessons the storm is teaching. Gratitude shifts your focus from absence to presence, from what you cannot change to what is available. It doesn't make suffering vanish, but it gives your mind a foothold, a place to stand, to see the horizon, to take the next step. When hopelessness swells, create a daily ritual of recognition. Each morning, identify 3 things that are yours, despite hardship. Perhaps it is knowledge. Perhaps it is courage. Perhaps it is a single person who believes in you. Perhaps it is the ability to wake up and breathe. They do not have to be grand. The smallest details matter because they reconnect your mind to reality, not despair. Gratitude is a bridge from paralysis to action. When you see what you still have, you realize that you are still capable. You can still make choices. You can still endure. You can still act. That recognition sparks hope. The Stoics were clear. The world will not wait. Life will not pause until you feel ready. But when you anchor yourself in gratitude, you regain perspective. You begin to see that suffering is temporary, that you are not powerless, that small victories are still possible, that the future, though uncertain, still contains opportunity. So when despair creeps in, stop staring at the empty ledger. Look at the things that are still yours. Count them. Cherish them. Let them remind you that the story is not finished, that the sun will rise, that you are still here, that hope, buried but not destroyed, can grow once more. Gratitude is the quiet weapon of resilience. It is the Stoic seed that blooms into hope. Practice it, daily, relentlessly, and you will find that even in darkness, light can emerge. Lesson 8. Focus on one day at a time. Hopelessness often comes from looking too far ahead. You imagine the next year, the next crisis, the next failure, and your mind cannot stretch that far without breaking. You see a mountain of obstacles, a storm of uncertainty, a horizon filled with endless difficulty. Panic rises, despair settles, and hope disappears. The Stoics understood this clearly. Life is composed of moments, not decades. Master the present, and you master hope. Epictetus taught that the mind is powerful, but only when tethered to the present. Anxiety, fear, and hopelessness are products of wandering into what is not yet real. The past cannot be changed. The future cannot be controlled. The only place where power exists, the only place where hope can grow, is now. Focus on today. Nothing more. Not the next week. Not the next year. Today. This hour. This breath. This action. What can you do right now that is within your control? That is all that matters. This focus transforms despair into action. When your mind is overwhelmed by the immensity of life, it freezes. Hopelessness feeds on this paralysis. But by narrowing your attention, you create clarity. You discover that even the smallest step forward is enough. You discover that the future is built from countless present moments. And in that realization, hope begins to breathe again. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, confine yourself to the present, not as a restriction, but as a liberation. Not to escape reality, but to embrace it with full attention. Not to shrink from life, but to stand firmly in the one place you can act. To practice this, each morning, decide on one thing you will accomplish today. Just one. It can be a mental task, a physical task, or an emotional task, but it must be achievable. Then act deliberately. Measure success by effort, not outcome. By focusing on the immediate, you anchor hope in action, not in dreams or fears. When you feel the mind drifting toward despair, ask, what can I do right now? What is within my control at this moment? What small step will create momentum? Life does not give you guarantees. It does not wait until you feel ready. But the present is always available, always actionable. The Stoic who masters one day at a time becomes unstoppable. Step by step, moment by moment, hope rebuilds itself, not as a grand vision, but as a series of concrete, deliberate victories. Hopelessness disappears not when the future is secured, but when the present is mastered. When today is conquered, tomorrow has a foundation. Focus on one day at a time, and hope returns, quiet, strong, unshakable. Lesson 9. Turn suffering into purpose. Hopelessness thrives in the absence of meaning. Pain is endured, hardships are suffered, and if you cannot see a reason, despair takes root. Life feels random. Effort feels futile. The world seems indifferent. The mind collapses under its own weight. The Stoics taught a radical truth. Suffering becomes strength when given purpose. Pain is inevitable. Misfortune is inevitable. But wasted suffering, suffering that breaks rather than builds, is optional. Epictetus, born a slave and burdened by a lifetime of limitations, saw clearly that suffering could either destroy or teach. He wrote, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." Your misfortune can reveal courage, patience, wisdom, and endurance you didn't know you had. It can illuminate values you might otherwise ignore. Every wound, every disappointment, every betrayal is raw material for a stronger, wiser self. But only if you actively choose to use it. The process is deliberate. First, acknowledge the suffering. Do not deny it, minimize it, or pretend it doesn't exist. Stoicism is never about avoidance. It is about clear-eyed recognition. Say to yourself, this is hard. This hurts. This is real. That is the first step. Second, ask, what can I learn? What can I build? How can this hardship serve me? This transforms despair into action. You shift from victim to craftsman. You see not the weight that crushes, but the material that can be shaped. Pain becomes a teacher, not a jailer. Third, act. Turn the lessons into habits. Turn the lessons into discipline. Turn the lessons into contribution, whether to yourself, your family, or the world. Stoic purpose is not abstract. It is concrete. One small step taken deliberately in the midst of suffering is more powerful than years of idle hope. Hope, therefore, is not a feeling. It is a decision to transform what breaks you into what strengthens you. The Stoics remind us that life is not about avoiding suffering. It is about learning how to use it as fuel. When you see your suffering as a tool, despair loses its power. You regain agency. You regain vision. You regain the ability to move forward. So, when hopelessness descends, ask yourself, how can I turn this suffering into purpose? What can I create from this pain? What strength can I develop? Answer honestly, then act deliberately. Even the smallest steps turn despair into direction. Even the faintest effort turns emptiness into meaning. Even the quietest choices rebuild hope. Suffering is inevitable. Hopelessness is optional. Purpose is your weapon. Lesson 10. Embody resilience, not perfection. When hope is gone, the mind often demands perfection. I must fix everything. I must be strong all the time. I must succeed without failing. That impossible standard is the trap. It ensures despair. It ensures hopelessness, because no human can meet it. Life is unpredictable, messy, and often cruel. Perfection is a mirage, and chasing it will only break you. The Stoics knew this. They did not demand perfection. They demanded resilience. Strength, not flawlessness. Courage, not control over every outcome. Endurance, not immunity to pain. Marcus Aurelius did not write, "Be perfect in all things." He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Resilience is a practice, not a condition. It is built, step by step, through small choices, repeated daily. Every setback endured without surrender is a brick. Every disappointment faced without collapse is mortar. Every failure accepted and learned from is the foundation of a mind that cannot be broken. Perfection focuses on outcomes. Resilience focuses on process. Perfection measures against ideals. Resilience measures against your own ability to persist. Hopelessness arises when you tie your self-worth to outcomes you cannot fully control. Resilience frees you because it returns focus to what you can do. Act, endure, learn, and persist. The Stoics wrote reminders to themselves like this: tomorrow is a new day. Do what you can and do it well. Let the results go. Notice how gentle, how practical, how freeing it is. Resilience does not demand that you be flawless. It demands that you continue. It demands that you rise. It demands that you act despite uncertainty. When hopelessness strikes, embody resilience. Refuse to surrender, even when life is harsh. Stand, even when the weight is crushing. Act, even when success is uncertain. Accept imperfection in yourself and others. Accept that life is often unfair. Accept that pain is inevitable. But do not accept collapse. Do not accept giving up. This lesson is simple but profound. Hope does not reside in perfect circumstances, perfect actions, or perfect outcomes. Hope resides in a mind that endures. Hope resides in a heart that refuses to surrender. Hope resides in the small, daily acts of courage and persistence that accumulate, quietly but inexorably, into an unbreakable life. Resilience is your anchor. Resilience is your sword. Resilience is the proof that, no matter what happens, you will not be defeated. And in resilience, hope is reborn, steady, enduring, unstoppable. You have heard these 10 lessons. You have seen the path from hopelessness to strength. But knowledge alone does not heal. Understanding alone does not restore hope. Action is required. Discipline is required. Commitment is required. The Stoics did not write to inspire passively. They wrote to guide action. Now it is your turn. Begin today. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances are perfect. Begin now, in the imperfect, messy reality of your life. Take one lesson. Apply it. Let it shape your thoughts. Let it shape your actions. Let it shape your day. Wake up tomorrow and ask yourself, which obstacle will I face with courage? Which fear will I pause before? Which small victory will I claim? What suffering will I transform into purpose? The questions are simple, but the answers will define your life. Step by step, thought by thought, action by action, you will rebuild yourself. Do not expect perfection. Expect progress. Do not seek applause. Seek integrity. Do not chase hope as a fleeting feeling. Build it as a fortress in your mind. The world may fail you. People may fail you. Circumstances may betray you. But you have the power to rise, again and again, unbroken. Listen to these lessons every morning. Let them guide your first thought. Let them shape your first action. Let them anchor you when despair whispers. And as the days pass, notice how the impossible becomes manageable, how the heavy feels lighter, how hope, once buried, begins to grow steadily, inexorably, inside you. Your life is not over. Your story is not finished. Every sunrise is an opportunity to reclaim yourself, to rebuild, to endure, to act, and to rise. Take this moment, take this lesson, take control, and step forward into a life of resilience, clarity, and unshakable hope.